Seattle is a boomtown. From manufacturing to tech, some of the world's biggest companies have brought jobs and wealth to the region.
But that comes with real growing pains. I'm Joshua McNichols.
And I'm Monica Nicholsberg. We host Booming, a podcast that helps you make sense of the economic forces shaping our lives here in the Pacific Northwest.
From the big budget projects on Seattle's to-do list
to the artificial intelligence age,
we get into the stories that hit your wallet and our region. Listen now on the KUOW app or wherever you get podcasts.
Love is in the air and on the page. I'm Katie Campbell, and this is Meet Me Here, KUOW's Arts and Culture podcast. This week, we're getting lit for Valentine's Day with Ashley Adair, owner of Beguiled Books in Seattle. Beguiled is a romance-specific bookstore, and if you're not into the genre, it might be surprising to hear that a bookstore can afford to be so narrow with its clientele. The thing is, Seattle and, the whole world loves romance. We'll talk about how the genre got so popular enough to prop up some publishing operations, and what you romantics should be reading. That's all coming up in just a second, but first, let me tell you about an event I'm crushing on. Okay, fine, I may be into this because I'm part of it. On February 20th, I'll be interviewing author Thomas Mallon at Town Hall Seattle. Mallon wrote the novel Fellow Travelers in 2007. It's about the early 1950s era known as the Lavender Scare, during which gay and lesbian people in the federal government were systematically expelled from service. The novel has since inspired a Showtime miniseries and an opera. The Seattle Opera will perform Fellow Travelers from February 21st to March 1st, and they asked me to kick it off with the author. We'll talk about the novel, how it feels to see it adapted and performed now, and how it reflects his experience as a gay man. Mallon also released a new book last year called The Very Heart of It, which is all about his time in New York during the AIDS crisis. So we'll definitely be talking a bit about that too. We'll share details and a link to grab tickets in the show notes.
I'm a firm believer that nature is healing. In these chaotic times, I invite you to take a breath and reconnect with our natural world. Wow, right in front of us. I'm Chris Morgan. Join me on The Wild as we explore stories of hope and resilience in nature. We'll bring you up close to some extraordinary species and learn how they are finding ways to adapt and thrive in fast-changing environments. Listen to The Wild on the KUOW app or wherever you get your podcasts.
I am not a romance girly, but I am a woman of a certain age who talks about books a lot, so my social media feeds are full of romance content. That's because this genre of books and shows and what have you is huge, and it's still growing. Ashley Adair has made it her business to keep that spark alive. She's the owner of Beguiled Books in Seattle's Pioneer Square, and she joins me now. Hello, Ashley.
Hello. Thank you so much for having us.
Oh, thank you for coming in today. This is going to be exciting for all of our romance nerds out there. I know you're all out there. So, Ashley, we're going to skip the classic first date questions about how many siblings you have and where you're from. Mm-hmm. But I do want to know, what is your literary hot take?
Oh, okay. So a lot of people are scared to DNF or did not finish a book. And I believe firmly that life is too short. And so if it's not hitting for you, whether it's just your mood or it's just not hitting, but you feel like you have to finish it, I'm giving you permission. You do not have to finish it. There's so many wonderful stories in the world, and it's okay to just put it down. It's okay.
I needed that today, Ashley. Thank you, because that is one of my goals for 2026 in reading, is to just know when to give up on a book. Yes. Because sometimes it's just not a good fit. It's not a match, right? And so now Ashley Adair here says you can break up with your book if you need to.
Break up with them. Let it go.
Well, you are not going to be breaking up with romance anytime soon. You've literally made it your business, your life. You're a huge romance fan yourself. So as a lifelong romance fan, what do you think is bringing in so many readers right now?
I do think it has to do with the dark reality we are all living in currently. A lot of people point to romance as escapism, which it absolutely is. But I think at the core of it, it really is a genre built on hope. And so what I love about the genre is that the constraints are it has to end in a happily ever after or happy for now.
Right.
However you get there, though, that's up to you. So you can do romantasy, you can have dark romance, some, mafia king, you can have a Loch Ness monster hero. It can all work, and it's all under the umbrella of romance. And so I think that the freedom of that constraint is actually really engaging to readers because so much is under that umbrella. But I also just think that we could all use more happily ever after right now.
That sounds right. I mean, we were talking before about a theory you have
Yes.
that romance really booms in times of strife. And you told me a really cool story from, was it World War II?
Yes.
Tell me more about this.
Absolutely. During World War II, there were a lot of paper rationing. And so Mills and Boon, which was the publisher for romance at the time, they successfully made a pitch that they should be able to keep their paper rations because if they didn't, it would negatively affect the morale of the women in the country. The government said, yeah, okay, that is absolutely the truth.
Yeah. You have all these women who are at home, predominantly women, as like their husbands and sons and other men in their lives are off at war and like, you need something to bolster the populace.
Exactly. You need that hope. You need that joy, too. Like, a joy, I believe, is an act of rebellion, especially when things are darker. And so giving yourself permission to feel joy and pleasure, not guilty, just regular old pleasure, that, I think, is a wonderful act of rebellion. And I do think that's why we see anytime there's moments of strife. I was also realizing, even during the 2008 financial crisis, we also saw a pretty big rise in romance selling. 50 Shades was around 2011, 2012, I believe.
50 Shades of Grey, where a Seattle billionaire hooks up with a college student and they get into like bondage kink. Yeah.
And so, if you think about the larger context, the financial crisis was, it was absolutely still going on around then. And so a lot of people, talk about tropes in the genre a lot. It's a very trope-driven genre. And the billionaire trope, now, not so good, not so hot. People do not want to hear about billionaires anymore. However, back then, the billionaire trope, it was aspirational. It's hitting that itch of security, stability, having all of your resources met, and someone does it for you.
Yeah.
That was always a big part of the fantasy, was that you had everything you could ever need and things you didn't even know you wanted, such as the BDSM that was portrayed in that book.
Right. That's a good point.
Yeah. So there is that correlation, even though it's a little bit maybe sad or dark, but it's the truth. Book trends respond to the environment that they're in.
There's a lot of comfort there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Recession vibes.
Yeah.
That made, a little more comfortable.
Yeah, maybe it's a recession indicator.
There you go. Oh my God. BDSM as a recession indicator. You've heard it here first, folks. By the way, 50 Shades started as a fan fiction, right? That's a super popular subgenre.
Absolutely. It did. It was originally a Twilight fanfic.
Right.
That was then reworked into an original work.
And to be clear, fan fiction is like taking an existing story and putting your own little spin on it as a fan.
Exactly.
Yes.
The existing story or those characters. If there's often characters who the fans are like, but what if they kissed? We actually have that on our wall in the shop. It's, but what if they kissed? And so then you can make that happen instead of complaining online about it.
I love that. I don't know if this counts as fanfic, but there's a local author you've told me about who writes, and embrace yourselves, folks, Bigfoot romance.
Oh, yeah.
Ashley, tell the people about Squatch Out.
Squatch Out. Oh, my goodness. So Squatch Out by Deysi O'Donnell. It is about this Bigfoot enthusiast woman who is on a camping trip, and she goes out into the woods and does a mating call. And then, of course, the hero happens to be half Bigfoot. And so I'm giggling about it, but I have to tell you, this is one of the books that we cannot keep on our shelves.
I love that not only is this a Sasquatch Bigfoot romance, but it's like a were-squatch.
Yeah.
That he's not always a Sasquatch.
No.
That's very funny to me.
I know. And it's concepts like this that, like we were talking, like it can be anything. It just has to have a happy for now or happily ever after.
It's kind of like Beauty and the Beast, but for the Pacific Northwesterners.
That's a great pitch. I think I'm going to start using that.
Perfect. Thank you. You're welcome. When I was growing up, I saw a lot of women reading Danielle Steele, Nora Roberts. I mean, you could find any number of these like paperback bodice ripper type books. Even in the grocery store, I always remember kind of seeing them in the checkout line at Publix down in Florida, and I'd be like, what are you doing there?
The reason why they were in grocery stores was because primarily women were the purchasers of the groceries of the household.
Oh, sure.
And so that was a way that they could add it to their grocery bill, but it wouldn't show up as a line item.
Oh.
Isn't that wild?
That is wild
I know.
and makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So like romance on the sly.
Yeah, and to this day, that's why, Walmart has a huge section of those like small mass market paperbacks.
Got it. We've gone from having to hide a book in your grocery bill to like people reading romance on the bus.
Oh, absolutely. And I do think, did it really change, or has it always been there and people are just being more public with it? And I think that's really like my personal opinion on it, is that it has always been out there, that people have always been reading romance. It has propped up the publishing field for so long, as far as economically being the top seller typically. But I think it's that people are no longer apologizing about what they like. I think a lot of the entertainment industry and certainly other aspects of business are realizing it's great economics for them as well.
Totally.
I mean, right now on Netflix, Emily Henry's adaptation of People We Meet on Vacation just came out. And that's, the number one movie on Netflix right now, with many more to come of these adaptations. Right now, it used to be think like 2012 when like Kindles were the big thing. I think that really took off because no one could see what you were reading. Where you can have, the man with the abs on the cover, or there's a version often that's called a discrete cover with like maybe some flowers and just the title, and you don't know.
Yeah.
But now with Book Talk, I really think the pandemic catapulted this public readership of romance. And so people are not only sharing what they like, but also giving recommendations. And even if they're not like in your like personal local community, you can get that community, because reading is such a personal, solitary activity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I really think it's just folks getting more passionate and unapologetic.
There you go. As people have gotten more passionate, it has seemed to open up. It's beyond like the bodice rippers, right? We're so cis heterosexual coded. It was like a man, a beautiful woman, and a beautiful man getting together in the throes of passion. Now, Heated Rivalry, anyone even remotely tuned into pop culture knows that we're seeing how powerful the LGBTQ plus side of the genre is. So as things have changed, as it's opened up, a lot more queer romance has come into the picture. And people across the sexual spectrum are super into Heated Rivalry.
Oh, yeah.
So for anyone who is somehow unaware, can you tell us what that is?
Absolutely. So Heated Rivalry is a male-male hockey romance. It was originally published in 2019 by Rachel Reed, and it was recently adapted by Crave, which is a Canadian company, and then it was picked up in the United States by HBO Max. And what was interesting about this craze, this is the first phenomenon we have been a part of as a bookstore. And so the publishers did not anticipate this one being in the United States.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And they did not print enough copies. And so everyone was sold out. We were getting calls. We still do. We still get calls. We cannot keep it in stock. We publish on our Instagram, it's in. And then people truly come down immediately and sell us out.
Oh, my gosh.
It's wild. So Heated Rivalry, male-male hockey romance. And it's already been approved for seasons 2 and 3.
Right.
It is just this absolute craze. And we are seeing people new to the genre, but also just people who don't read as an activity in their normal lives. They're coming in and they're saying, hey, you have Heated Rivalry. And we try not to laugh because they don't know about this shortage, but it's getting better. And what's great news is that it's a series. And so there are many other titles that they can engage with.
How many calls a day would you say that you get asking if you have copies?
Oh, Probably like 10.
Oh, no.
Yeah, absolutely. Between social media and our contact form and phone calls, which, by the way, nobody calls anybody anymore. So that alone is like, what is happening?
People are picking up the phone and saying, please, do you have this book?
And please give me a physical book, too.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Which is, you know, I haven't seen that kind of craze, and it makes me really feel positive about just going forward, because we're hearing all sorts of really scary stats about literacy numbers and people just aren't reading as much anymore. But I would say that I'm not seeing that. I'm seeing the opposite. I'm seeing new readers get back into reading. We help a lot of folks with that who are like, oh, it's been 10 years, like 10 years since they've picked up a book. And now Heated Rivalry is making them want to, you know, engage in that curiosity.
Yeah, be a part of something in the cultural zeitgeist right now. There's something to that. Well, so for readers who cannot get a hold of the Heated Rivalry books right now, what else could they be reading to give them a similar vibe?
Okay, so there is a great local author called Brent Archer, and he has an amazing backlist, and he writes male-male romance. So while there is no hockey happening, there is heartfelt, high-angst male-male romance happening. I think we still need, even though it's in the zeitgeist right now, we need more queer romance. If you look at the stats, it is not being as published as often, and the demand is there, and that's why I think everyone is so enthused about this craze that's happening, because it's not only great for queer authors, but it's great for queer readers.
Yeah,
because you can finally see representation of yourself, and they get a happily ever after. I mean, so often with queer stories in general, there's often tragedy, or there's often that someone dies. It's always the queer character that dies. And so I think having more queer romance and celebrating that queer joy is like, that is what I'm hungry for. That's what our customers want too. It's one of our top selling genres.
Yeah, to show that there's that bright spot. We don't always have to end in the tragedy.
Exactly.
So when we think about what sci-fi delivers, like, sci-fi is about the future. It's about what is possible. Horror, which I'm a huge fan of, is kind of about the present, the fears, the things that are sticking out to us and weighing on our anxieties today. What is the superpower of romance as a genre? What does it do for us?
I think romance uniquely, it's very character driven. And I also think it has to do with hope. Like, you can have a traumatic backstory and still you deserve love. Yeah. And then you also get it, though. I think that's the piece that ties it all together, is you not only deserve it and you should have it, and you face your shadows, and then you come out on the other side of it brighter. Yeah. And so I think it offers examples of how you can do that, because watching someone go through something that you have been through or might be going through, I think that is so inspirational. My father passed unexpectedly in 2022, and I mentioned grief is often, a backstory in a lot of these books. And so at first I was like, oh, I don't want any of that. But then actually I did engage in some, and it actually was like, oh, I'm feeling really seen. And I think that that's what it's offering too, because speaking of all the different identities that are represented, especially queer romance, you're watching people discover that they're not alone, and that there are other people out there like them, and that they deserve love, and then they get love. Yeah.
So it's fulfillment that you get out of it. Fulfillment and just human relationship.
100%. Yeah. Yeah. And a big dopamine hit, not gonna lie.
Okay, Ashley, so we're going to do one last thing. When you finish a really steamy, lovely romantasy, and you really don't want to leave that world yet, you have to fill the void with something, other books or shows or food or activities. This is recommended if you liked romance.
Oh, yeah. So first, I'm going to say, get your butt to the bookstore. Beguiled Books in Pioneer Square. We are on First and Yesler. And get another one.
Yes.
I mean, why stop there? Like in Love with You by Emma Alban. It's a historical queer romance. And it's basically Mean Girls meets Northanger Abbey. So it's these rival gals in the marriage market. So think like Bridgerton times. And they're pressured to go after the same eligible bachelor, but they end up falling for each other. Another local Pacific Northwest author, Jo Segura's book just came out, The Lust Crusade. She is known as the queen of action-adventure romance.
Ooh.
So think like sexy Indiana Jones, Lara Croft. There's archaeology. They're going on adventure. There's always a jungle. This latest one is set in Greece. It's a woman who has to travel to Greece to save her brother's best friend who has been kidnapped for all of his archaeological knowledge. And they have to find this legendary artifact together. It's a great time. And it really reminds me of The Lost City, that Sandra Bullock movie. It's got those vibes.
Okay.
And then, of course, we talked about Squatch Out by Deysi O'Donnell. And she's an indie author. And again, it's a Bigfoot enthusiast who goes camping and then does a mating call. And then here comes Park Ranger who, whoops, I'm part Sasquatch.
I'm never going to get over that.
But also, you can engage in the book community. It's not only reading. And so there are a lot of clubs and a lot of activities, too. So book bedazzling is a thing. You basically take crystals and you bedazzle the cover, and it's pretty. And you get to hang out with other book lovers and chat about all the things that you love.
Now I'm just imagining the abs on those bodice rippers with little gems on them. That's fabulous.
That is my next project now, immediately.
Perfect.
I'm going to plug Ink Drinker. It's a new literary-themed bar in Ballard.
Ooh.
Why not? Head over there, support a small business. And you can also come celebrate with us on February 15th. We are going to be at Seattle Cider Co. with our trailer where we got started, where all the magic began.
And it's been a year since you started that.
Yes. 1 year ago. We launched last Valentine's weekend.
Amazing.
We're going to have some book pairings with ciders. And then if all works out, there will be a cake in the shape of the trailer.
If all works out. That's ominous.
Yes. Well, one of the creators we work with is taking a stab at it for us. And so we'll see.
Okay.
She's very confident.
Fabulous. All right. Like I said, I'm not a huge romance fan, but I do have a few suggestions for great books that are not predominantly romance, but include a hot or sweet relationship. So I'm going to share those. The Ministry of Time by Kaliane Bradley. I found myself cheering for this couple to get together, which is very not like me. Mm-hmm. But I wanted them to be a couple so badly. Also, The Possession of Alba Diaz and Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas. We've had Isabel on the show to talk about her brand of horror, which she called horror romance. She's very good at writing characters who will drive you absolutely bananas with their silly efforts to not fall in love. I love them so much because there's terrible things happening around them, and eventually tragedy brings love together. Yeah. I don't know, but Isabel makes it work. Does that sound up your alley at all, Ashley?
Oh, absolutely. We often recommend Ministry of Time to folks who are like, I'm not really into this.
Okay.
Emily Henry's also, of course, a great place to start. But if you are into horror romance, which is becoming a very popular subgenre, I love Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver.
Okay.
It is two serial killers who are in an annual killing competition with each other, and then they also fall in love.
That's really dark.
Oh, it's dark. That's what I mean. Romance covers it all.
Is that romance enough to be romance?
100%.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Because they end up in a happily ever after, and it's just all the ways to get there. They get there through murder, and there's also, I believe in this one, is the whoopsie, maybe cannibalism. Oh, no. There's a lot of calm to this horror romance.
Okay. I don't necessarily believe you.
I know. No one does. And then they come. I get it.
All right. I'm going to try it just for you, Ashley.
Thank you.
You know, I appreciate that you met me where I'm at in the genre. That just shows what a consummate professional you are. Ashley Adair is the owner of Beguiled Books in Seattle's Pioneer Square. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for listening to Meet Me Here. Meet Me Here is produced by KUOW, a proud member of the NPR network. It's hosted by me, Katie Campbell, Dyer Oxley, and Jeannie Yandel. And it's produced by Brandy Fullwood, Kyle Norris, and Matt Martin. And it's edited by Phyllis Fletcher. You can find more and support the show at kuow.org/meet. And you know the drill. Let's meet up again next time.
You're listening to NPR. You care about local politics.
But it can be hard to keep track and understand how it affects you. I'm Scott Greenstone.
And I'm Libby Denkman.
And on Sound Politics, we talk about this and the other Washington like normal people.
As normal as we can pretend to be. We get beyond the headlines, ask the tough questions, and tie the big stories back to our own backyard.
Sound Politics. Listen now on the KUOW app or wherever you get your podcasts.